Biggest regret of my life was. As a kid I'd always watch cheating wife GF porn and it really turned me on. I had this fantasy of catching my future GF or wife with another man in bed. Later on I came to know about this thing called cuckolding. Then in 2019 I met my girlfriend F20 then. She was a decent, studious kinda girl. She was definitely smarter than me. I wouldn't say she was a 10, but she had a cute face, wore specs and had an amazing body. She had her kinks, but it was not as crazy as mine. One day while making love I brought this cuckolding topic up to her to see what would be her reaction. She laughed it off the first time, but after I repeatedly tried bringing this up she scolded me and told me she'll stop talking to me. So I didn't bother her again. This year during the month of February she told me that there's a guy in her university who really likes her and wanted to take her out on Valentine's. This guy was a really good looking. I stalked him on Instagram cause I was feeling insecure and found out he was a 6 feet tall powerlifter but told me she didn't like him at all and that he was very arrogant. She was lying. I teased her about all of it, calling her by his name and stuff, not knowing how into him she already was. Then on March one day she suddenly brought up this topic of cuckolding and do I still think about it. At that time, out of sheer excitement, I didn't think it through and told her I still fantasize about her having hardcore passionate sex with another man, preferably better looking or hung than me. She to my surprise said she might fulfill my fantasy. I was feeling happy but at the same time scared because thinking about this is something and it actually happening in real life is something else. She asked me who I thought would be the perfect guy for the job and I took that guy's name from her university as a joke. She said yes without any hesitation and at that time I just laughed and teased her even further. I challenged her if she had the guts to go ahead and fuck him. 3 days later, Wednesday, she told she's been talking to him the last couple of days and spending time together after classes too, hence why she was always late but was scared of bringing up this topic with him. I was surprised at how into this she suddenly was. I advised her instead of telling him about the cuckolding thing, just pretend you are cheating on me. Saturday morning she told me that this guy wanted her to spend time with her. She asked me for my permission and I gave her the green light. We both knew what was about to happen. I was scared and jealous, but the fact that my fantasy was about to come true made me ecstatic. I asked her since she couldn't tell about the cuckolding could she at least record it secretly so I could watch it later, but she told me it was literally a criminal offense to do so and I told her she was right. Following night she didn't receive any of my calls which actually turned me on. I was fantasizing about how good he must be fucking her probably without any protection and masturbated thrice that night. Next morning she didn't receive any on my calls either so I got a little worried. I thought about calling her roommate, but she thought my GF was with me, so I didn't want to spook her or something. Around 1 PM she texted me she was fine and just didn't have to look at her phone. I asked if she wanted to meet and talk about it, but she told me it's Sunday, so she might spend some more time with him. I was angry at this point because this was not what I had agreed to and imagined going down in my mind, but at the same time couldn't tell her anything because I thought she was only doing this for me. She came back home late and we didn't really talk about it over the phone. I thought it was better to talk about this in person. Next day I met her and asked her about it, but she kept refusing. We went back to my place and I kept nagging her about it. She got very angry and told me he was way bigger than me and cooned inside her so many times she lost count and enjoyed every second of it. TBH I was devastated to hear that and after that almost everything went in a downward spiral. We stopped talking for a few days. She stopped returning my texts and when I inquired about her with her roommate, she told me my GF was staying at her aunt's place for a few days, which I knew was BS and that really hurt me. We stopped talking after that for a long time cause I gave up on her TBF. I do feel I'm more to blame, but at that time I was only blaming her. On 2nd November, her day, I wished and told her I hope she is happy with him. She couldn't help but cry and apologize. She came over the next day and I told her I was sorry to put her through this. She was honest and told me she was with him for the past several months, told me that it meant nothing with him and they don't even talk anymore. We are back together now stronger than ever. But the recurring images of her making love with someone else still hurts. I feel like maybe it hurts me even more is because of the fact that the guy is genuinely better than me in a lot of ways and that if things would have worked with him, she would probably never come back to me. Every time I see her smiling at her phone or her not returning my calls or texts I get anxious. So yeah, if I could go back in time and change this I definitely would. I believe cuckolding is not for everyone so be wise and very careful. Should I leave? Wife of 20 years had an emotional and sexual affair for a few weeks. Found out that my wife slept with another man. Said they were friends for weeks until the evidence got her caught up. Told her that if she cut ties I would try to forgive her. She kept talking to him online and over phone for weeks after then she finally stops I think. But she is deceptive. The guy she hooked up with is a dirtbag. He knows she has a husband and son that she lives with and did it anyway. I want to smash his head off the ground, fucking bottom feeding low-life home wrecking piece of shit. I don't know what to do. What I've learned from this whole thing is nice guys finish last. Help me please. Why would someone stay in a relationship if he or her got cheated on and knows about it? Let's say there are no kids involved and no cuck fetish. 1. Some people consider a relationship as an investment and hate the idea of throwing it away without gaining something positive from it. 2. But also because people become too complacent and too chicken shit to venture out on their own due to the fear that they were cheated on because they are worthless and no one but your cheating spouse will ever love you. 3. You have no financial stability while single. 4. They have voodoo pussy or dick and they use it every time you leave. I stayed with an ex after I found out she had cheated. I was in love, thought she truly was the right woman for me. I believed her apologies. I believed that it would never happen again. I was struggling with PTSD, which looking back, was a big part of my reasoning to stay. Internally I felt that I was broken and that my failings, my guilt, my depression had been to blame for her actions. I stayed with her for 2 more years. I thought we had worked through everything. I was back in counseling and had pulled myself out of the dark pit that was my mind. She went to visit her family in Social for a week. I felt something was off. I logged on to her Facebook on her laptop that she had left. She used it for work as a tattoo artist and wasn't going to need it while seeing her family. I was devastated. I found it wasn't one time, drunk out at a bar with her single friend that was toxic. It was ongoing. For 2.5 years she had slept with multiple guys. She was sending pictures and videos to others. This time, I was in a better mental state. I knew my worth. I knew and felt I deserved better. I took the next 3 days and packed her things. I moved them to a storage unit. The day she flew back, I picked her up, got my house keys, dropped her with her mom and stepdad, gave her the key to the storage unit and never looked back. I'm guilty. I was young, 18-25, the 2 relationships had happened. I had struggled with the feeling that no one would ever want me and this is as good as it gets. That 18-yo ended up pregnant a few months later. I put dating on the back burner until my amazing son grew up and left the nest. I met my now husband at 39, it sucked waiting for him, but I'm so glad I did. He taught me my value and has shown time and time again what trust is. I would never tolerate cheating again, I know this without a doubt in my mind, but it's taken decades of self-care and working on my insecurities to get there. I don't regret my decision to stay at 18, I wouldn't have my son, I just wish that girl knew she was worth so much more than she thought. Boyfriend dad's neighbor is sleeping with my stepmom. Help. Long story short, I moved into my dad and stepmom's house after being out of state for the last year. When I arrived my dad hooked me up with his neighbor and saying he really wanted us to date. And then I hit it off really well and everything was going really good until my stepmom started to act like a jealous bitch. Between the things both N and SM would say about each other and how they'd act around each other, I was getting a feeling something was going on between the 2 of them. Unfortunately it wasn't long until that feeling was confirmed. I feel very betrayed by both of them, but what makes it worse is I feel like my dad might have known about them before he set me and N up. If he did know, I'm struggling to understand why he'd hook his daughter up with the same guy who's fucking his wife. I could be wrong about it though and really want to have a conversation with my dad about all this, but don't know how to bring it up or what to say. Any suggestions would be much appreciated. Have you ever told somebody you cheated on them but really did not? The time frame is fuzzy, but it was before we married. We've been married for 17 years. She took me to the park and told me that she had sex with her ex while on the phone with me when I was in jail. She asked for me to share with her and I told her that I had kissed an ex while we were together. She changed her story and told me she made it up to get me to confess. I wonder to this day what would have happened had I told her that I cheated. Would she still say she made it up? Was it a way to break up with me, but I didn't take the hint? My wife cheated on me with my best friend. My wife cheated on me with my best friend. We're going through the process of splitting up but are living together, separate rooms, to be there for the kids and to try and stay friends. I defer asking her not to carry on the relationship with him whilst we're living together. Honestly, it doesn't matter what you ask. She has zero respect for you and will do what she wants. Ask away, but don't be shocked if she tells you you have no say in it. It's fine to be cordial for the kids, but saying you all are friends is being disrespectful to yourself. You really want to call someone a friend who has zero respect for you? I hope you still don't consider the asshole who she cheated with a friend. They both have no respect for you. Also, you need to get your own place or have her go move in with him. You guys may think this is a good setup cause you all are in the same house for the kids, but it just makes it more messy and confusing. What would you want your kids to do if they were in your situation? Wouldn't you want them to know their worth and kick the cheater to the damn curb? People need to stop accepting disrespectful people in their lives for the sake of the kids. What are you teaching your children by doing so? Oh, this video has come to an end. If you want more such cool stories, then go to one of the many following videos.